Hey YouTube, welcome back to another video. This is exciting. This is the very first video of the Wix Studio series. I was fortunate enough to train with Wix in New York City for the introduction of Wix Studio before it was launched to the general public. And I am now happy to be making some instructional videos. Today we're going to be talking about the Wix Studio interface here, which is the place where you're going to be building your website. So from the top here, I'm just going to go through and break down what we have going on. So we've got our quick add, which is going to open up when we click the plus icon. Now from the quick add, we can add all of our basic assets: image, titles, paragraphs, buttons, containers, videos, shapes, lines, galleries, all of the fantastic stuff that we use to build our website. Underneath that, we can have our main assets saved if we want to save assets and use them between different websites. And then we have our sections. So there is a bunch of pre-made sections similar to how Wix Editor has it, and Editor X had it. Bunch of pre-made sections that are already responsive, and you can essentially change the text, images, and make them your very own. And we have them for a bunch of different pages that we might have on our website. And then we also have headers and footers as well. So headers and footers in Wix Studio are going to be independent from the website. So essentially what you can do is you can have different headers and footers on different pages now, which is really nice. That's a big improvement from, it depends where you're coming from, Wix Editor or Editor X. We're going to have our containers. So similar elements. A lot of these things in this panel are going to be similar from what you're used to. We have our text. So we can change our text themes, and we'll talk about that in site styles. And when you change your site styles, so your text and your colors, they're going to appear here. So you'll have the text that you want to use for the rest of the website. And then you also have text masks. So you can put these onto the page, have videos or images within the text showing behind or through the text. We're going to have our layout tools. Now, this might be the biggest difference in Studio compared to Editor, how the site is established from the sections and repeaters and you know, the base of the website, what the site is going to be really based in, and what's actually going to make the website responsive versus Editor being responsive only to mobile. And you know, it's compatible with tablet, but that is essentially just being in that margin that is designed for desktop in those grid lines. So we have our section grids, which we can drop right onto the page, and then we can fill in these elements, which I'll talk about all of this stuff in future videos, but we can change. For example, we can put an image in the middle of one, and then we can put text on the left or right side of that image. And we can do all sorts of stuff with these grids. It is very, very nice. We're going to have our repeaters, which help to build up consistent content in layout terms. If you have items that are going to be repeating in a section or on a page. We have tabs, which they recently, I guess, mid 2023 introduced to Editor. We have tabs in Studio as well. We're going to have accordions, which are also really, really nice. I like this feature. I used Frequently Asked Questions widget, which is native to Wix, to have accordion style drop downs in Editor a lot in my designs, and now they've added accordions, so you don't have to use the Frequently Asked Questions widget for that if that's something that you were used to. We're going to have slideshow repeaters, which are really nice, and then our light boxes are also located here. Pretty straightforward. We're also going to have CSS grids that we can drop right onto the page. If you're familiar with CSS, and then we also have our flex boxes located here. And underneath layout tools are going to be our buttons. We're going to have our styled buttons, which are going to be styled to our brand guide. If we have our colors and our typography updated throughout the website. And then we're going to have our menu and search. So we have all of our menus that we can add to the site. Most of it is pretty common to what you are used to if you are used to Wix at all. They have added hamburger menus here and breadcrumbs, which is really, really nice. I used to make breadcrumbs for Editor out of plain text and just link the text items, but now they have them already here. So that's really, really nice. Our media is going to be where our media is located. So we have single images. Our pro galleries are located here. We also have video and audio. And everything is going to be, as you scroll down, you'll see this highlight on the left side where I am. And then we also have Shutterstock. So we can purchase images and videos if we want right through Wix. Now, when you go to upload media, one thing to point out, which is really helpful, and I probably did it the wrong way a million times, is when I click, or when anybody would click on quick add and select image, it's automatically going to put an image onto your canvas here. If you do not mean to do that, if you just want to upload your media, you're going to go to media and then you're going to click the upload media button, which is going to then allow you to upload your files to the website. If that's maybe where you start, that's where I start at least. I upload all my files to the website and then I will build out the design and replace the images or add the images. This is where you would upload those files. It just makes it really easy. We're going to have our decorative stuff. So they've added some shapes and stuff in the menu here, so it might look a little different, but then you get down here and it's pretty similar. You're going to have your icons and your vectors and your animals and your all of the cool stuff and the text masks, and then we'll have our video boxes and our transparent videos. I'm a big fan of transparent videos, by the way. If you haven't tried transparent video, I like these boxes a lot. They may look strange here, but what you can do is you can put them onto the page and you can put any video in there. It does not have to be, horses and rocks and butterflies. You can have whatever you would like there. Contact forms are going to be handled a little bit differently in Studio. So in, say, for example, Editor, you would have a contact form that you would drag and drop onto the site. You do kind of do that here, except now we're going to create our forms and they're actually going to be managed from a dedicated form creation tool or UI, where you're going to add your fields and then that is going to populate onto the Wix Studio canvas. So you're not going to be changing your fields in the Studio editor itself. And we can also have or use pre-made forms here. And then we have our subscribe, contact, order forms. And then our maps are located under contact and forms, which I guess the grouping makes sense, but it always throws me off. I'm always looking for assets or under something else. I'm never looking for contact forms when I'm looking for maps. We have our embeds and our social media here. So all pretty straightforward, in addition to our share buttons, which is really nice. And then we're going to have our plugins. Let me move my head. We've got our blog, our store, our bookings, our events, members, CMS, and multilingual. So those are really the most common for me, at least, that I will use in my site. There are some other ones that I may be searching for, and you can totally just search for the plugins or apps right in the app market from the left side here. So this is really where the meat and potatoes is. We're starting with the majority of the things that you're really going to be using to build the site. So essentially, if you could think about it in any compartmentalized manner here. Compartmentalize? I don't know if that's a word. So these items are the ones that you're going to bring over to the canvas. And then the right side here, once we've added our items onto the page, or if you click on an element within the editor, we have then our editor panel, and we can make the adjustments to whatever we've added to the center here. So let's talk about the rest of these here. So we're going to have our pages, and we can easily add a new page down below here by clicking add new page. We have all of the same settings that were on previous editor settings: SEO basics, social share. We can rename the page, we can duplicate the page, edit the page, edit our add-ons. And then we can also, we have a comment system on this, which I'll show you in a minute. Global section. So this is really, really nice. So what this does is allows us to have multiple headers and multiple footers on our website. And what you can also do is you can create an entire header or footer anywhere on the site and then just call it a footer or a header. And then what it's going to do is going to appear across your website. And then you would just click on add footer if it's not there, and it would appear at the bottom of your page. So it's really nice. If you have, say, for example, in my designs, a lot of the times I'll do like maybe a dark themed homepage. The rest of the pages are light themed, and it just makes it really, really simple and straightforward to have that header and footer match the rest of the website and flow throughout the pages. Our site styles are going to look pretty similar to what you may be used to. So we're going to have our headers, and then our paragraph text, which we can adjust and change and upload our own fonts. We have our colors, which we can change. We're going to have our background and text, our action colors, and more colors down here if you have a larger expanded palette. How I usually set this up is based on if it's a dark theme or light theme website. I'm either going to switch these two, because this is going to be what is connected to text, and this is going to be what is connected to background. So if it's a dark theme website, typically you want a dark background and then lighter text on top of that dark background. If it's a light theme website, this is going to work just fine. You might change this. I typically use an off black. I usually don't use perfect black on a website, just best practice. Your action color is usually going to be what your button is. It's a good rule of thumb. Maybe highlights around the website, that splash of color that just draws attention. And then you're going to have more colors down here to expand the palette and use throughout the website. Your page transitions are also located in your site styles. We have our app market, which I won't get too much into because these cover a bunch of different plugins that you might use, but may or may not update the videos for these. I think most of the plugins are pretty much the same as far as what we've covered in the Wix rundown for editor. And then the CMS, which we'll talk about more for Studio, very similar to how it was for Editor X. Similar setup, just we can display it in a much more beautiful way. And then we have our code, so we can run custom code on our website, and they have added a lot of features in past couple of years, including GitHub integration. If you are familiar with GitHub and coding, Wix is very, very, very friendly nowadays for that. And the way that they package their products and allow you to use them in your own design is fantastic. The comment section here. Now, multiple people can be working on this website at the same time. So if you have a team, if you have multiple designers that are working on these websites, you now have the ability to comment and talk to each other right in the interface here, and collaborate on the site. And you can at them, and you can, it's very intuitive. It makes the working process a lot easier. If you know editor, you cannot have two people in Wix Basic Editor at the same time. And this makes it so you can, and you can communicate with each other, which is just tremendous. There are video tutorials, and then if you need help, there is a help button down here as well. So that is the left panel, and there is a lot there. I would recommend, clicking around, playing with it for a little bit, just familiarizing yourself with the interface and everything that is available to you. Now, the right panel this is really where we're going to be designing and adjusting everything that's on the site. When we click on an element, for example, this is a section within the page. We're going to have this pop up, which allows us to add cells and add scroll effects, shape dividers, add comments for the team. And then on the right side here, we're going to be able to edit everything within this section. So we're going to have our width and our height. We have different settings for how we want the section to respond. And we're going to talk more about how each of these things fit together when we get into strips. still thinking editor. Cells and sections. We'll talk more about how they all interact. You have a background color control. You can add media, images, or videos. We can add background overlays. We can choose a layout, which is going to apply cells. You can apply advanced CSS grid. We're going to choose what happens to the content that is not in the section, which is outside of the section if we want to show, hide, or scroll it. We can change whether that is default, which is just going to be scrolling if you scroll the wheel, sticky, or pinned. And then we have this here, which may or may not be the most important thing, in my opinion, to the new Studio Editor. So for this is going to allow you to make sure that things look centered, aligned, and nice and clean. So what I always do is start with my margin. And what you see pop up here is we'll start to have some margin here. So essentially whatever you put into this section is going to be within that margin. It's not going to go to the far left and right. So whatever you add after this point is going to have margin, which is important. You can also add custom cursors, which is really cool. And then we can add our anchors. So there is a lot to this right panel, and that is all in our design tab. We're also going to have an animations and effects tab. Now, whatever is selected in the canvas here in our editor is what is going to be affected by our animation, similar to previous editors. Be careful of what you click when you apply animations and effects, because you may be clicking the wrong thing. It'll show you when you start to add the animation. It'll flash on the screen. It'll show you what you're doing. We have hover animations, click animations, scroll animations. And then when it's an item, like say, for example, if we add an image to this, let's quick add an image. We're going to then have an entrance and a loop. So it's going to add interactive stuff here. And then we can also add other layout business type stuff here. And then when you also have a different element selected, there's some things that are going to change in here. For example, what you used to have as a design icon, when you clicked on something, you're going to have all of that stuff in your panel here: borders, corners, shadows. You're also going to have the addition of the dimensions, because if it's an image or if it's maybe a vector or something like that, you're going to have different dimensions for it. And then you're also going to have, let me put that back actually, you're also going to have your alignment tool, so you can center and horizontally and vertically align it. At the top here, so let's close out the panel. Let's start from the left. So we'll have a drop down. We can go to our dashboard right from here. We have our pages, which we can see in a overview. We're going to have the autosave. So this Studio does autosave. Just pay attention. I usually, as force of habit, always publish my websites. You do have that button to the right here. Autosave will tell you if it's not autosaving. So just be in tune with that, just in case, if it's not auto-saving, you want to make sure that you know that, and you're not, Xing out when progress is not saved. Now, this is the best thing about Studio, in my opinion. We have desktop, we have our tablet, we have our mobile, and then we can also create custom breakpoints and make sure that it is responsive to those custom breakpoints. You can do infinite amounts of breakpoints here, but the main ones are going to be set automatically for you, and you're going to then be able to make this small and large, which is really nice. Pro tip for you: if you have a small computer and you're not working on a widescreen monitor, it does really help to have it minimized, and then you can move. If you have a left and right scroll, you can move this around and really get this in a small, compact little manner. If you're at 100% and you don't have that moved over, then you kind of need a lot of space to be able to work in this environment. But that does help a lot to minimize the size of your browser if you don't have a large screen you're working on. And then, last but not least, we've got our collaborators here. So if there's multiple people on the site, similar to how like Figma would be, you have your collaborators at the top of the page here, and you can select them. And then we have our undo, redo, our notifications. If you were talking to your teammates, you'd get notifications. And then our preview mode, which we can then minimize our page here and see how the responsiveness reacts as we make it smaller. My preferred method is to click mobile, tablet, and desktop. You also have these common devices too in preview mode here that you can click, and it will show you those breakpoints. So this is the first video of our studio rundown. I'm going to be making a lot of videos going through the process of building a website and how everything interacts with each other. I hope you get a lot out of it. I'm excited for this series. Wix Studio is a brilliant builder. If you're familiar with Webflow at all, it's I think an easier Webflow equivalent. And I'm really excited to be presenting it to you guys. So thank you very much for watching the video. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.